But it's so good to be back in this place and seeing all of your smiling faces. And man, just God has been good. God has been good. And so we're grateful for that. I grew about 2 inches while I left. And no? Okay, no? Okay. All right. No worries. No worries. All right. It's just good to be back in place. And it's good to see each and every one of you today. And I see that God has been good to you all because of your smiling faces. And so I'm grateful to God that he continues to sustain us each and every day, sustains us each and every day. I want to give you some housekeeping really quickly. Ministry Fair, Sunday, May 19th. Ministry Fair, Sunday, May 19th. We're calling everybody to come and get involved. Come get involved. Come get involved. Come see about what the ministry looks like here if you're not already involved. We promise to not run you away when you get involved. We promise to not, well, no, let me not say that. Let me not say. I was going to say we promise not to overwork you, but that's just not, I don't know. But we're having a ministry fair on Sunday, May the 19th. And we hope to have everybody here from 9:30 to 10:15. You can come see what we're doing here and see how you can get involved with what's happening here. David, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Good to see you. So this morning, we began a thought, and I was hoping it'd be a prolonged one, but if we run through Mother's Day next week, the mothers will have their torches coming after me as I leave the place. So this morning, we began a thought just entitled Restart. Restart. Restart is something that is a little different than reset. A lot of times we want to reset, but I believe that there are times in life where God calls us to restart. And so we're in Isaiah chapter 43 this morning, and I want to read 2 verses to you, so that you are very aware of where I am. He says in verse 18, but forget all that. Talking about what he just dealt with. Talking about the things that God had been doing. He says, it's nothing compared to what I'm going to do. How beautiful is that? Where God says, I've been God, I've been watching over you, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, I have been sustaining you, but what I am getting ready to do is not even compared to that. Verse 19, for I am about to do something new. The text says, see, I have already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness. I will create rivers in the dry wasteland. So let me start off by telling you something, that if we're honest with each other in here today, we understand that the past can oftentimes be a prison. We understand that. We recognize that. And the other thing is that we all have moments in our past that we regret, decisions that we wish we could take back, and experiences that have left deep scars in our life. All of us in here today can suggest and can be honest and say that there are things in my life that I'm not proud of. There are decisions that I've made that I regret. There are experiences that I've gone through that have left trauma in my life. And one of the things that I think is very interesting is that these things can hold us captive, can capture our minds, can captivate where we are, can captivate our entire being. And when those things do that, it prevents us from experiencing the fullness of life that God intends for you and for me. A lot of times our past, we don't allow our past to be what it is, and we allow our past to stay within our present context, and it does not allow for God to be who he is for us in our life. So you say, Jeremy, what does that mean? I want us to understand that the Word of God encourages us that at some point in your life, you have to break free from the prison of your past. Got to break free. Got to let it go. And it's not about, and understand me very clearly, it's not about denying or pretending that it never happened. It's not what it is. Because a lot of times within our mental psyche, when things happen to us, we try to pretend as if it never happened. We try to deny that it never happened so that we don't have to face the reality of what just happened. But I want to suggest to you today that denying or pretending will never make it go away. You have to deal with what took place. How do you deal with it? Release it, forgiving you and forgiving others, and allowing the grace of God to heal your wounds. It doesn't suggest that the grace of God is going to heal the wound within a 24-hour time span. But over the course of time, if you allow God to heal your wounds, you don't have to pretend, you don't have to deny, because God is saying, when I'm in the equation, when I'm there, you don't have to pretend, you don't have to deny, but you can release, you can forgive, and you can heal. Understand what I just said. You can release, you can forgive, and you can heal. And there are many people in here today who needs to release so that you can heal. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So, well, why is this so difficult? Here's the reason why this is so difficult. It's difficult because of the fact that the past can be a comfort zone. This is what we know. This is all I've experienced. This is what has been going on around me. I've gotten comfortable with my life being this way. Therefore, now I'm comfortable. I really am. Israel was the same way. Life was always doing what it did to them, and they always found themselves in the same predicament over and over and over again to where they became comfortable with conflict. So at some point in your life, though, you can't allow the past to become comfortable. Why do you say that to us? Because we often cling to the past because of its being familiar and it being predictable. And even if it's not the ideal situation that we find ourselves in, that we want to find ourselves in, we prefer being comfortable more than we prefer uncertainty. I don't care about uncertainty because I can't control uncertainty, but I can control being comfortable. And so the state that I'm in, I would rather be comfortable than to be uncertain. That's where some of us are today. But I need us to understand today that God is calling you through this text out of your comfort. And I need you to understand that there are times when our comfort makes us miss our opportunities. Don't miss what I just said to you. Your comfort, your being comfortable has the ability to make you miss out on your opportunities. What are you talking about? Opportunities to grow. You cannot grow in a comfortable place, because comfortable places don't seek opportunities to grow. They only seek opportunities to be content. You miss out on the opportunity to grow. You miss out on the opportunity to serve. Because because a lot of times you carry around so much baggage with you that your service is affected because of what happened the last time. And instead of releasing, forgiving, and healing, you held on to all of it, and now the opportunity to serve is there, and we still struggle with it because of what happened the last time. Opportunity to love, opportunity to live. And at some point in your walk journey, God is urging each and every one of us to shift focus from the past, to be fully engaged in the here and the now, and to be open to the new things that God is trying to accomplish in your life. God wants to do new things, but he can't do new things when your focus is still in the past. So what are you trying to show us? He says, verse 18, forget all of that. Forget what happened. Forget what I've done. It's nothing compared to what I'm getting ready to do. What are you saying to us, Isaiah? First of all, Isaiah is not saying that God's redemptive acts and all the revelation connected with them should be forgotten. That's not what he's saying. Don't walk out of here saying that Isaiah was telling them, hey, look, forget everything that God had done. That's not actually what he's saying. And we understand this not to be the case because he shares with us in Isaiah 46:9, he says, remember the former things long past. For I am God and there is no other like me. He says, I am God and there is no one like me. So that's not what God is suggesting here. That's not what Isaiah is suggesting here. But what is being suggested in this text is that the saving events of the past, with all of their details, had become a straitjacket into which every other act of God was forced. You say, what does that mean? Let me show you. What it suggests is that the Israelites were frequently unable to recognize God's new actions when they came because they were stuck on the previous, looking for God to do it the same way again. You heard the saying, some people, especially in my grandmother's generation, they would say, if it's new, it's not true. That's the saying. If it's new, it's not true. We're looking for God to do what he does in the same way over and over and over and over. And if it's brand new to my eyes, that can't be God. It just can't be God. But if you recall, remember God, that he is the sort who can do all things, all kinds of things, but forget the ways in which he did them. That's what Isaiah is conveying to us. Remember God. God can do anything. God can do everything, but don't become attached to the method of which he did it. Why is that? Because he is God, the creator. He does not do things the same way twice, and he does not have to do things the same way twice, and he is not obligated to do things the same way twice for it to be effective. Are y'all understanding that? God can he can have the same result and do it 3 different ways, and as long as we are comfortable with God being God and God doing God things, the method shouldn't matter. Because we're looking for God to produce results. We're not looking for God. God is not measured by method. He's measured by results. Does that make sense? Here's the first Mesa moment that I need to share with us this morning. It's very, very simple. It's simply this. God is consistent. Understand that. But he is not obligated to perform the same activities over and over again as nature does, just so that you're comfortable with him being God. Does that make sense? He's not obligated to that. God is not in the business of ensuring that you are good with him being God. That's not what he's in the business of. God is in the business of you trusting that he is God. 2 different things. 2 different things. God's not, he says, I'm not trying to ensure you that I am God. I'm trying to get you to a space where you can trust that I'm God. Does that make sense? He's not in the business of trying to make sure that you're comfortable with that. He's in the business of trying to ensure that you trust him greater than you trust anybody else, including yourself. So what does that suggest? There will be times in your life, and understand what I'm saying, there will be times in your life where the methods of God will be new to you so that your faith can go beyond your past. Understand what I just said? In order for faith to grow, God has to do new things, new ways, so that you can trust him better than you did in the past. Does that make sense? So what does that suggest? Do not make idols of the method. Because what happens is we will chastise the very thing we should be blessing. Let me let you think about that for a second. Because a lot of times we want the method, we want the methodology to be the doctrine or the tradition, or we want it to be God. It's not the method that is the doctrine or the tradition or God. It's not the method. It's God himself doing God-like things. And sometimes we miss God-like things because we're looking for God to be the same methodology every time he shows up. And that's not always the case. Sometimes he's saying, listen, I can do things different ways and still prove that I am God. Does that make sense? If you come a point in your life where you're looking for God, don't always expect God to show up the way that he did last time. I'll take you a step further. You get to a point in your life, you're looking for God. Don't always look for God to do it, or as some of the young adults and the young people say now, don't always expect God to run it back. Sometimes it don't look that way, and that's okay. Don't miss your blessing because you're looking for what he did last time. This was Israel's issue. They kept looking for God to run it back. Do it the same way again, and I promise you, God will do it differently this time. Every single time God blessed, Israel messed up. And then when they messed up, they decided, okay, God, if you do it the same way again, I promise you, we'll be better next time. How many of us are like that? We'll mess it up the first time, and then we'll pray, God, look, if you do it the same way, the exact timing, same stuff, same people, I promise you, I won't mess it up. But here's the reality of the situation. If God were to do it the same way, same time, same people, same method, we still find a way to tell God, that's not what I was looking for. That's what it is. But at some point, if you are going to restart, you got to restart a different way. Got to restart looking at this thing differently and just saying, God, when I restart, I want to just trust you. I don't care how you do it. And this ought to be your testimony. I don't care how you do it, God. I just ask that you do it. Just do it. And I'll forever give you the praise because you, and that is the reason why we become so disappointed, is because we want God to do it, but then we tell him, hey, look, when you get to this part of it, I need it to look like this. When you get to that part of it, I need you to perform it like this so that I am sure. No, stop telling God what to do and just say, God, do it. Just do it. Whatever that looks like, do it. Here's verse 19. Verse 18, he told him to forget about it, forget about the past. Verse 19, he says, for I am going to do something new. See, I've already begun. Isaiah is amazed at what God is already doing. But then he's flabbergasted because he's looking at Israel and he's saying, why don't y'all see what God is doing? So he says, this is what's going to take place. I will make a pathway through the wilderness. I will create rivers in places that they do not belong, in dry wasteland. So here is what needs to be understood. For the prophet Isaiah, seeking and looking with faith, the new thing was already there. He was looking for God. He wasn't looking for a method, he was just looking for God. He wasn't seeking a method, he was just seeking God. And the new thing was bursting forth right before his eyes. And so at this particular point in time, he's so amazed at him seeing God that he's amazed that the hearers don't seem to recognize that God has shown up. Now, to some degree, Isaiah is sharing to take the past with you as evidence that God will continue to do and be God based on what he's already been doing and based on what he is currently doing. So the past is not just a drop it in the river and just keep walking. No, past is used as evidence that if God has shown up before, this evidence says that he will show up again. Does that make sense? So at some point, stop using the past as telling God how and use the past as saying, God, show up again. Show up again. However you show up again. God, I have evidence that you showed up in my life last time. God, show up again. And there is at least 100 people right now that's just, whatever you're dealing with, your only thing you need to be telling God is, God, show up again. Just show up again. God, I need help with my future. And I'm not going to tell you what it needs to look like. God, the only thing I'm asking is show up again. If you need help trusting your future, ask God, show up again. Place God in your future. Don't allow anybody to tell you what God can't do. Just say, God, show up. Show up. God will accomplish new things in your life if you are willing to restart with him right now. He's willing to show up right now if you are willing to restart with him, because sometimes we start and we don't start with him. But if you restart and start with God, God will show up and do new things in your life. God cared for his people then. You understand that. You see that all throughout Israel's story. He showed up for his people then, and God will care for us now by preparing the way. All we have to do is ask God, show up. Show up. So now, what does the text not say? Because we're asking God to show up. But what does the text not say? Very interesting. The text does not say anything about them returning to the land of Israel. I know that. Think about it. Go through the story. It does not suggest that God says, when I show up, I'm going to show up by taking you back to where you're most comfortable. How do you know this? Because God wants the best for you, but sometimes it does not include returning. That's a hard concept. What do you mean, God, we can't go back? What do you mean, God, I'm not supposed to go back there? Restart and renewal do not always have to be in a place of familiarity. Understand that. Sometimes the best restarts happen in the most uncomfortable places. Just because you can't go back does not mean that God does not intend for you to restart. Restarting is always good, but it doesn't suggest that you're going to return to the place you like. So I understand. I understand. You understand. I understand. But Jeremy, what about the future? If I can't return, what about the future? Well, yes, I understand. The future is uncharted territory. I get it. Yes, I understand that the future is a blank canvas. It's waiting to be painted with the colors of your choices and the strokes of your action. Yes, I understand that. Yes, I understand that the future is a book that has yet to be written. I understand that. Yes, I understand that the future is a story that has yet to be told. I get that. But you want to know the beauty of the future? The beauty of the future is that it's not set in stone. And you can still work some stuff out. The future is not a fixed, unchangeable entity, but it is a fluid and a flexible one. The question is, are you ready to restart? Yes, I get it. You know, it's uncertain. There's not a lot there. It's really blank. I'm afraid of messing up. But let me tell you something. When God is in your restart, the being afraid of not messing up should not even be within your psyche. The ability to say, God, wherever you go, I want to be there, should be the starting place. So Isaiah, through the Spirit of God, provides us a practical heavenly invitation to focus on the future. It's okay for you and for me to focus on the future. This is a call to courage. It's a summons to strength. It's a mandate for movement. You cannot stay still and say, I'm headed to my future. No. I gotta walk with God. Are you ready to restart? Are you ready? So that you say, well, Jeremy, I just got a couple questions. I got a couple questions that are in my mind and I need you to answer them. Well, guess what? I thought about you this week. You asked the question, how do I transition from a backward looking perspective to a forward facing one? Was that your question? Maybe? Okay. Maybe it wasn't that one. Maybe it was this one. How do I shift my gaze from the rearview mirror of the past to the windshield of the future, because I haven't been everything that I've wanted to be, but I'm looking and I'm trying, but how do I stop looking behind me? Was that your question? Maybe it was. So let me give you 4 things, and I promise you, I'm going to let you go. So one of the things that I found that's very interesting is that focusing on the future means letting go of the past. That's what I found out. It means releasing the regrets, the resentments, and the recollections that keep us stuck in a time that no longer exists. Can't stay stuck in what no longer exists and a time that you will never see again. I can't go back to 2000. I can't go back to 1994. I can't go back and undo it. Why stay stuck in a place that you cannot undo? You'll never see it again. So that means I got to focus on letting it go. I have to focus on the future, and it means I have to embrace the change in my life. It means recognizing that change is not a threat. Understand that today. But change is a tool. It's a tool that God uses to shape us, to mold us, and to make us into the people that He has called us to be. Are you ready to restart? What does it mean? Focusing on the future means that I have to trust God. What does that suggest? It means I have to rely on His promises. I have to rest in His provision, and I have to rejoice in His presence. I'm no longer wanting to be in charge. God, I trust you for your promise, your provision, and your presence. You ready? Or maybe this is you. Focusing on the future means that I have to live in the present. Can't live in the past if I want to live in the future. It means I'm not wasting my time worrying about what might happen. Got a bunch of worry worms in our society. We really do. And we worry about what might take place. And we spend hours of our days, hours of our time trying to figure out what might happen. And if you notice this, these statistics suggest that about 43 to 45% of the time, what you think might happen will not even happen. So you have wasted 40% of your time on something that will not even occur. Think about that. We waste time thinking about a might when we could be investing our time in what can. It means making the most of the opportunities that we have, the opportunities that we're given, the people that we are spending our time with. I have to make the most of that and not be concerned about maybe. One of the things that I tell my kids all the time is take maybe out of your vocabulary, because maybe will keep you up at night. Maybe. Maybe this might. Maybe this will. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll go like this. Maybe it'll go like that. We don't need to focus on what might. Focus on what can. Here's the last Mesa moment, and I'm going to get out of your hair. I promise. I'm going to get out of it. Your restart only happens when you are ready to lay down your past and get out of that prison. And can I tell you something? Here's the real secret. A lot of us are holding the key to the cell. And we won't unlock that door for fear of what's behind that door. Don't you just wish that in everything in life, when you said, I think I'm going to do this, you could see the beginning from the end and you could say, man, that looks amazing. Now I can go into it. Don't you wish it was like that? But you know what? You know who knows the beginning from the end? When you put God into the equation, he says, I am the beginning, I am the end. Unlock that door. Unlock that door. If you're in this building today, you can't restart. Hear me very well. You cannot restart with your past in your hands. Unlock that door. Unlock that door. Are you ready? Are you ready? No, not the person beside you. You. Are you ready? Yeah, I know you're looking at the person behind you, and maybe they do. But you, are you ready? Leave out of here today saying, I'm going to unlock this door. And when I walk out, I will not come back here. I will not come back here. Will you stand with me now? If you're ready, we're ready. If you need prayer, we're ready. If you need baptism, we're ready. Question is, are you ready? Are you ready? You need prayer right now? Our elders will be down here at the front. They're ready to pray with you. If you need baptism, they'll be down here at the front. We're ready. We're ready. The question is, are you? God is ready. The question is, are you? We're going to sing. Will you restart right now?